So my first weather memory is when I was a kid, probably about 5, I'd say. We were in Warwick, on the border of Queensland and New South Wales. I can't remember if we were heading north, maybe moving to Brisbane, I can't remember. Essentially we were at a motel and there was a severe thunderstorm around, and my dad said, "Oh, you don't need to worry about anything, it's just thunder and lightning." And then I think they talk about some ball of lightning bouncing around the back of the yard and then fizzing up against the glass. I suspect what actually happened was the hotel got hit by lightning and it blew something up, and which caught on fire and fired around the backyard or something like that. But that's the first very vague memory I have of something weather related. So my most significant weather memory, well, I've probably got 2, I'd say, and I'm going to count bushfires as weather. So fire-wise was an incident in Orangeville on the 5th of December 2019, when the Green Wattle Creek fire had pushed up against Orangeville and quietened down. In fact, there was almost no wind at all, but there was just a very slight westerly pushing this thick plume of smoke, and it was starting to settle over the top of us as we were behind some homes next to this forest. And then what I think was going on was essentially just the continued fire was heating up the trees, and the trees were releasing their flammable gases, but the thermocline above the trees was keeping it all down, and it couldn't escape. And then a very slight southerly, just very slight, maybe 5 to 10 km an hour, crept in, and then the fire literally exploded from the point of, within 5 seconds, it went from being half a metre high to possibly 50 to 100 metres high, right in front of us, and we had to just run. It just filled the air with monster flames, and then just huge, just millions of embers just swirling around us. Because of the extremely rapid intensification in heat, fire tornadoes developed very close to us, fire whirls. It was amazing to watch, and then also just to look at the dynamics of what started to happen at the very ground level wind directions. It started to wrap into the actual heat, the fire area. That was pretty amazing. And then I guess the next one would probably be in 2019, chasing in the United States. Started off the day in Sterling, Colorado, and we ended up in Imperial, Nebraska. And essentially the first sort of event was a powerful supercell around Sterling, which developed a tornado, but we got stuck on the northern side in a whole pile of it's what's called the forward flank downdraft, and there was very heavy hail, very strong winds heading in towards the tornado, and we're driving east trying to get ahead of the actual tornado itself, and every now and then you could see through the rain and hail just this nasty looking lowering on the ground. But unfortunately the road network meant that this tornado was going to intercept us. We just couldn't get out ahead of it, and so I pulled us off into a different direction for safety's sake. And we were a bit upset about that, but pulled around behind the back of the storm and let it go, and then headed south to intercept another storm that was forming on the boundary of the gust front of this big supercell. It was pushing out, and it was actually turning and joining up with the forward flank downdraft of the next storm coming along. It was this beautiful intersection, and as we came out of the rain, suddenly on our right there's this most perfectly formed supercell. It's called the Imperial Mothership supercell because it was just, it happened in Imperial, a town called Imperial in Nebraska, and it was just spectacular, so clean, just an amazing sight to behold. So I first sort of became, I guess I've always been interested in weather, but I started really paying attention properly in the mid-90s, and then in the late 90s joined the Australian Severe Weather Association and met up with people like Nick Moir, Jane and Clive Herbert, and Michael Barth, Anthony Cornelius, and all sorts of guys who were super interested in severe storms and weather, and sort of we all, increased our knowledge, watching US tornado videos and stuff like that. And then, and around 2000 I went and trained with the RFS to get my sort of my fire knowledge up as well. But it was the mid-90s essentially when I first started. Stuff was coming out online, stuff like that. My favourite type of weather, well, it's storm chasing in the US. Like, it's just awesome. It is amazing. Just even the most mediocre days over there are better than 99% of any storm chasing days you get here. It really is incredible. I was just doing some random forecasting just a couple of days ago, and just up in Colorado, and even just with looking at it, it was pretty mediocre. Most storm chasers wouldn't go out, but there was still the chance of a tornado, and definitely a chance of landspout tornadoes. It was just, it's ridiculous. I think it's one of the reasons why Australians, when they go over to chase in the US, are really successful, is we tend to chase those marginal days, and sometimes those marginal days can produce some pretty interesting stuff. Well, the last question kind of answers this question, which is where would I want to be? I'd be in the States storm chasing right at the moment, right in the middle of chase season. There's been a whole lot of really nice supercells, tornadoes out in the middle of nowhere, not doing anybody any harm. Very photogenic chasing. I wish I was chasing there. It's just hard to describe just how amazing it is chasing out on those out on the high plains of the US, when you've got this like gigantic rotating supercell, and you're out in the middle of the prairies. It's pretty special. So significant weather, terrifying experience as well. Those couple before I mentioned were pretty big. Probably the one that bushfire one, where I learnt the best lesson was in Canberra in 2003, when I was taking a back road to get into the suburbs that were getting hit by the fire. And so I took this road. I'd travelled on it before. It just was getting smokier and smokier and smokier. And then I just remember it got to the point where I actually had to open up the car door to look at the white lines on the side of the road, in the middle of the road, to keep going. And then it just became black, and a big glow came up on my right. And I had a four-wheel drive, so I had to bash through a fret fence to get through and onto a road that was in the distance. It was a farm track to get myself away. I mean, I knew where I was, but the lesson was that losing your situational awareness. Essentially, I slowly got myself into a position that I was very lucky to get out of. So these days, I really think about my exit strategies and safety zones and stuff like that, about when I go into a fire, particularly on a extreme day like that. So weather, I guess, can really teach you to live, you don't have to do this all the time, but live in the moment. Like these monumental sky structures, like supercell storms, live at most for, a few hours, really. And yet they can be just mammoth things. And I guess just to really appreciate those fleeting moments of awe and beauty around you. There'll be times when when I'm satisfied with my photos, where I'll just sit back and just feel the air that's coming out. Some of these storms are, bringing cold air from very, very high up in the atmosphere and bring it down, and feeling that cool air, cool, clean air, and just the amazing colors of the blues and the greens in the bruised color of the sky when you get those very severe storms, and just the movement of the cloud when a tornado was forming. Very animalistic, very big. They're bigger than us, and just releasing your control, putting yourself in a position where you're safe, but just letting you're not actually in control. And in some ways, I guess it's a little like surfing. So yeah, that's what I really enjoy about it. Now, what was the next one? What am I going to put in the t-shirt? Well, I got a lovely shot of one of my daughters, shot in Belrose, up on the top of a car park, looking out at this huge shelf cloud. I'm a fan of that. I like that one. That's nice. I've taken a few photos like twin tornadoes in Colorado. That was, I really like that. If it wasn't my photo, there's the Pilger tornadoes, so this twin tornado. So there was essentially a big monster cone, and then this thinner, smaller tornado going across, and then there was a lightning bolt as well. Now, a number of photographers managed to get that. That's a primo thing to get. That would be like, if you've got that photo to put on a t-shirt, it's like, that's claim to fame. Well, it's funny you mentioned socks, because well, actually I've got, okay, so today I've got a combo of avocado and whales, but my super lucky socks, where I got the Imperial Supercell, and I think I've got like 3 or 4 tornadoes with this combo. It's avocados and chilies, so kind of guacamole. That is my perfect combo for storm chasing. That's where good stuff happens. Just trust me on this. So Latvians have really cool sort of jewelry. Same with the Nordics, but they've got very sort of earthy and weather sort of symbology. But yeah, sort of lightning symbology or wind symbology, that sort of stuff in silver. That's about it. I like silver. And music, well, I'm usually storm chasing to things like Nirvana, who else? Radio Birdman, The New Christs, real good punky sort of stuff, fairly aggressive, Bikini Kill, like that. All that really punky rock and roll. After a chase, sometimes we'll listen to, a bit of the Doors and stuff like that, but it's a bit like nerdy to do that. So mostly to get pumped up, it's that fast punky stuff. Radio Birdman's sort of surf punk, so it's got that kind of ominous, weathery feel, and Sydney based. So yeah, gets you up and going. Of course, storm chasers can be, they can last 15, 16 hours. So that's a long time to be pumped up. So you're usually exhausted. You'll wait until a fair way into the chase before you really pump out that music.